Welcome back. I'm Jessica Din, Curriculum Coordinator here at ICOE, and then my colleague over here, Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica Morquecho. I am the director of our, I'm the director of district and school support for our curriculum department. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be with you guys on the 101, but I'm happy to be here for the 10, calling it a 102, but I think it's more of a 101B. So I'm excited to be here with you guys today.
All right, just a refresher on our webinar norms. If you're not speaking, if you could please mute yourself. But if you do have a question or you'd like to share something, we would love to hear from you. So please do unmute yourself if you'd like to share. Use the chat feature that's also available. I do put the links in there if you joined us last time. I do try to put all of the links in the chat box, so it's easy for you to just click and go. When you are in the chat box, if you could just use your name as a starting point. I think most of us actually have our actual name, so that'll be good. And then take risks and fully engage. We are trying to take it to the next step today. So take some risks, just try it out. You can't break Flipgrid, and we'll see how it goes. So we are on a 60-minute agenda for today. The first thing that I asked for you to do was to respond to a topic that I had posted. I don't see any responses there for that. So this next one, we have a quiz. And this one, please respond to it. We have the link here. I'll put that into the chat for you. And this is for us to see how it, what you remember about Flipgrid. I'll put that as a live link in just a second too. Or you can also scan the QR code here with your phone if you wanted to use your phone to open it, and you can respond that way. So again, please go into the topic for today, this quiz. I'm going to get the live link for you in just a second. And then go ahead and respond to that. We'll give you a couple of minutes to go in there and do that. All right. So in the chat, we can see that yes, the class is called a grid and the assignment is called a topic. So Flipgrid just has special terms that they use. When we are creating a class, they refer to it as a grid. So that would be if we are teaching different subjects throughout the day or we have different periods, then period 1, for example, would be its own grid, and then period 2 would be another grid. But that's what they refer to as classes. They're called grids. And then assignments, when we're posting assignments, those are called topics. I'm going to go ahead and show you over here. This is one of the responses. Questions here for us.
The assignment for you, and I don't remember what the students are called.
There you go. Thank you, Carmen.
Yay.
Yay, we did it. So that's the student side of things, but as a teacher, this is what you see when somebody posts a response. So down here, I have those questions that I had put in, and then here's Carmen's response here. There's 3 views. It tells me when she posted it. So there's that view. So we're gonna go back in, and I saw the responses there. When we talked about the class, again, is referred to as a grid, and an assignment is referred to as a topic. All right, so what I would like you guys to do, last time we shared our grid. We created a, just like a sample grid on our own account, each of us did. And when we did that, I went in to check those, and some of those are not allowing us to enter them. So, for example, when I came here, Carmen, and I clicked on yours, and I tried to log in, it was telling me that I had to use, that it wasn't going to allow me to enter with an ICOE apps account. So all of us are going to go into our grid, and we're going to check those settings. So what that looks like is here we have Educator Learning Community. When you go into your grid settings, please check that box, and that allows for anybody to go in and access that grid. If you wanted to use this grid later for an actual group of students later, you can go in and change that. But for now, just leave it Educator Learning Community and then remove the password so that we can test that out. So to do that, you're going to go into your Flipgrid account. Here are your grids. You are going to hit that pencil button. So whichever grid it is that you are going to adjust, you're going to hit the edit grid button here, this pencil. And then from there, make sure it's on educator learning community. And then the password is turned off. And then of course, if you need to, so I'm going to update my grid. And then remember that on this grid right here, where we have the rocket ship, this is how I share that grid. And I'm going to copy this. And do remember that we also get the QR code. So you can also right click that and paste it into our Flipgrid sharing slides. We each had our own slide. So if you can enter that data there. So one more time, we created a grid last time we were together, and we want to make sure that those grids are open for everybody to be able to access so that we can see each other's grids. So you're going to go into, let me close this one out. You're going to go into your Flipgrid account, whichever Flipgrid it is that you're going to share with us as a whole group. You're going to click edit, this pencil for edit grid. And then you're going to come down here where it says grid type, right here where it says grid type, and make sure that it's on educator learning community and that there's no password. And then lastly, down at the bottom, you want to go ahead and click update grid. So I have that on the slides for you, those two things that you need to click. I'll leave it there. Of course, if you need help, you can either unmute yourself or post it in the chat, and then we can help you. Okay. So I have my grids here. This is our grid for us today. I'm going to make sure that my settings are correct. So on this pencil here, I'm going to click edit grid. It's the pencil. And when I click on that, it opens up to this screen. This is what I was showing you on the slides.
Okay.
So again, it gives me the option of changing the name of the grid, even the flip code. But what I'm worried about right now, what I would like for us to focus on right now is changing it to an educator learning community. And then
see, mine says, I'm sorry, mine says update topic.
Are you on, okay, so you're gonna click on up here at the top, Carmen, where it says my grids.
Okay, I'm on my grids.
Uh-huh. And then you see your grid there and you should have a pencil.
Okay.
And then when you click on that, that will let you update the grid. Okay. And then from there, you're going to change it to educator learning community. And then again, make sure that the password is turned off.
It's just loading, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else that I can help troubleshoot through that? And we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and click into Miss Vanderlinden. Yay!
Yay!
I got right in there. You did it. High five.
Yay!
Good job.
All right.
I was just gonna go back in right now because that last little part you said about that last thing that we undo, I was like, did I do that?
Yes, we did. Miss Janet, we got it. Dina. Not working. Is Dina here? Okay. And then Miss Carmen, are you still working on yours, Carmen? Yeah, you still got the password going on, Carmen. So if you can go in there and remove that password. All right, so once you are in there, once you have posted it, thank you, Dina. Once you're in there and you have posted it and you're good to go, you know that yours is working. I just checked it. So if yours is working, if you want to go ahead and try to access somebody else's, 3 of your colleagues today, and go into their Flipgrids and respond to their topic, the topic that they posted. Go ahead and practice responding to that.
On which slide do I log on to where all the Flipgrids are at?
Let me share that with you again.
Like 8.
8, thank you.
So here is the link again to those slides. This is the first slide on there, and then you'll find the one with your name. If you weren't with us on day one, then just down at the bottom, any of those slides that have not been claimed yet, you can enter your information there. This first one is just my example, and then we have the others where you can enter your information. As you go through and you experiment more with posting your topics, you'll see that there are different options that you can have in there. So for mine, it was a video plus a selfie, but you can change that. You can make it just a video. There are different options that you can go in there and explore. We're not going to do that today. I do have the PDF to share with you toward the end, but just be aware that you do have different options of how the students can respond to a topic. All right. Is Flipgrid called an education tool? It is an education tool. It's for teachers to use with their students. All right. I think we're good. Nobody's asking me to wait a minute, so we'll go ahead and move on. All right. So the next part of our training is to create another grid. You remember your grid is your class. So this time we had our grid that we just created that we shared with our group here today. And that grid was a public grid. So now what I would like you to do is I would like you to be able to walk out today with a grid that you're actually going to use with your students, the one that you will share with your students. So I have the steps here again to remind you of that process. You add a new grid. We have that arrow there. That's step one. Then you name it. You select the type of grid that you're going to use. Then if you'd like for it to be a password safe, then you can add a password there. And then lastly, here is the information that we would share with our students so they can access the grid. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple of minutes to create now a grid that you would actually use with your students.
So there was a question, how do we know that they are free for us as educators? So when you're asked to create an account, it is not prompting you to include any type of credit card or any type of information. I've only superficially also have played with the tool itself. I'm gonna guess that like any apps and any tools, there might be an upgraded version or things like that, but everything that we're looking at today, and even in what some of our other educators have played with, all of it, the tools are free. So there is no charge for Flipgrid.
I have a question. I've been using Google Meet instead of Zoom because you have to actually log on with their Google account or school Google account, and so that adds a level of security. How do you add that to Flipgrid? I mean, you can give them and I teach 8th grade, so you give them a password, and it's happened where teachers are using different programs. And even with passwords, they share them with others. Now, it doesn't happen a whole lot, but I mean, just a couple of kids sharing passwords with others and then fooling around, with the program, is enough to make us hesitate. So how do you add another level of security?
You are able to go into remove students if you notice that there's a student who shouldn't be there. You can also, they have the two options here of school email or to use student ID. So those are two ways that you can, I believe with student ID, you actually upload that list. You create the list of the student IDs and then they get in that way.
Yeah.
So they'll go in with their school Google accounts.
I believe they have to put in their actual IDs as their identification process. Now, again, they could share their student ID, they might not feel that it's a secret either. I think just with any tech tool, we just have to continue to monitor and just be watching out. There's not like a complete barrier to it, but you can put some more identification in it that they would have to share a little bit of more information than just the password for your grid. But it does take a little bit more of a work on the back end to get that classroom ready. But again, it is an added.
Okay, thank you.
Rosie had a question about how to choose her password. It can be any password that you want. I believe it automatically generates a password. If you want to change it, then you can change it to whatever you'd like. Also be aware, Carmen, that you can put it so that before the videos post to the topic, you can set it so that you have to review it before it actually posts. So that's another security feature. If you would like to review the videos before they actually post to everybody, you can do that too.
That's right. Thank you, Jess, for saying that.
I'm sorry, where do you do that?
That would be within the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
All right, for the flip code, I have a question here about the flip code. This is the flip code here. When you're in your grid, it gives you this flip code here. Rosie, if you can see my screen. There's a couple of ways to do it. So for the code, Rosie, I showed you within the actual grid, but then there's also this button here with a rocket ship. And if you click on that, that also gives you the link that you can copy and the QR code. This is where the QR code comes from. It does say it has a download button, but if you right click and then copy image, you can do it that way too.
So do you see yourselves making a grid for each period, each class, or would you see grids being done per assignments? How would you see it being done, Jess?
For myself, I think I would use it as a class period. When I taught 7th grade, we had like a block schedule, so it would just be period 1, 2. When I taught high school, I did have different subjects, so I could have like the journalism grid, English 10 period 1 grid, ELD 4 grid. It just, I think it depends on what your schedule looks like during the day, and the way that you like to organize things, what works best for you, or the way that you see it.
Because I could definitely see something like, you know, if you wanted to cross collaborate with other classes. So if I have a partner teacher who's teaching 8th grade and her students are doing a topic around some research, and I want my students to respond and look at work that's being done in another classroom, that can open a door of collaboration. And so then we could both join that grid and discuss that topic around whatever that may be. So I guess whatever the purpose of your flip grid could determine whether you want to do just a grid for your class because I want the collaboration to happen within my class, but this can also open the door of collaborating with other classes, whether they're my own classes that I want my first period to collaborate with my 3rd period, or I want my classroom to collaborate with Mrs. Din's classroom. And so maybe that could be a grid around a topic, right? That's just kind of what I'm thinking if I was.
That's a nice way to take it to the next level for sure. I do like that idea. I would be intentional with the name for where I do want a specific class period though to post. So I would keep it something that they are used to calling my class. So if I'm teaching English 7, then I want to keep it English 7 and then period, whatever.
How many of you already use Google Classroom? Just a thumbs up is fine, yeah. So kind of that same mentality, right? If I have a Google Classroom, that's what I'm looking at my grid as, a Google Classrooms.
Yeah, Tina, it also gives you the option to download it. That's another way to do it. So I hope at least downloading it worked. So again, those links that you shared, the link to your grid, that's what you're going to share with your students so that they can get in. If you click on any of these that our colleagues have shared today, you'll notice that they I think most of them do not have a password to protect them, but that is a setting that when you're creating the grid that you're going to use with your students, you might want to create that extra level of protection with both a password and then either a school ID or a school email. I'm not sure if your school assigns emails, but if they do, you can do it so that students have to use their school email to log in. Are we ready to tackle a topic now? Or would you like a couple more minutes? Okay, nobody's objecting, so here I go.
Yay.
All right, so next you're gonna create a usable topic. You are in the grid for your students that you're going to actually share with your students. So now in that grid that you're actually going to use, you are going to create a topic that you might share out today or on Monday with your students. So when you are in that grid, you're going to you're going to click on Add New Topic button here. You're going to put in the title, whatever the question or the stimulus is. And this is where you can also change the recording time, how long you want the video to be. Carmen, this is also the screen where that video moderation, it's tiny here, but if you look here, I have video moderation, and this allows me, if I turn that on, then I would need to review the video before it posts and approve it before it posts. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to look at all those settings and explore those.
And really think about your topic that you are creating. So think about, I'm sure you're already thinking about your lesson plans or the activities that you're planning to assign next week, right? So think about a topic that, how can you flip that? How can you flip that into a Flipgrid assignment? Or maybe it's the assignment stays at its as is, but you're going to add a level to that assignment. So maybe next week you are assigning a task that students are going to write something, right? So a lot of your students are ELs, am I correct, right? So a lot of our students are ELs, and we're still required to offer the opportunity of that oral fluency. So that is one way. So maybe the task stays that they have to write a paragraph in response to something that they're reading, but maybe they read that response on here, and then they're tasked with responding to somebody else's paragraph with a certain type of criteria. So that is a good way that they can practice that oral fluency without being physically in the classroom right now. Maybe you are offering some social emotional learning for your classroom, or that social emotional response. So maybe before you begin the week, your Monday task is to share maybe some thing they did over the weekend, or maybe something they heard on the news that kind of caught their eye this weekend in regards to the virus. You know, a lot of our students, you know, have, doesn't matter if they're older, right? Because I have my own fears that after hearing the news, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just saw that post. Is that real? Is that not? So maybe something in that sense, the social emotional support that you can offer an assignment for. So really think about either extending an assignment, adding that layer with Flipgrid, or turning an assignment that they're currently going to do as a Word document or as a slide into a Flipgrid assignment. Jess, actually right there in the screenshot on 10, on slide 10, number 4, you see the icons at the bottom.
Yeah.
Those are the other apps that the Flipgrid can be linked to.
Yeah.
So as you can see the icon, the first one, the blue one, don't ask me what that is. The second one is the Teams, Microsoft Teams. The third one, the green, as you are probably aware, that's the Google Classroom. So you can link whatever task that you are asking students to do to your Google Classroom. So those of you that maybe have a little bit more familiarity with the Google Classroom, you can play around with that. And then the last one is the Remind app. So you can also send that remind to, whether you have them linked to the remind to your students or to your parents. If you're planning on using it for both. I know some of you teach at 2 different sites. So if you're using it for Remind for your students, you can also send them a message through Remind linking that Flipgrid task.
It's an easier way of sharing the links with your students if you're already using these platforms. You can do it through those links. No problem, Rosie. All right, any questions before we start wrapping up for today? All right, within the, or actually I'll let Erica, if you'd like to speak to this student voice slide we've got.
Yeah, so kind of in the lane of what I was saying when you're thinking about that topic to use next week. So we think of Flipgrid as that platform to collaborate, right? Right now our students are working independently, or we all are in need of, you know, that communication to learn to speak with somebody else. So think about how Flipgrid can be that platform to have students collaborate, to present presentations, right? To promote that that English language development. To offer the platform for reflections, for debates. So if I only have a classroom of 10, but my other colleague has also only about 10 that are logging on, then maybe that's when that grid becomes more of the platform for debate versus just for my classroom, so that I can have more participants responding. A means of encouragement, right? Maybe you just want to send a message out to your students for encouragement or announcements. So really think about not adding the layer of work, but where can I substitute, not just add for my students? How can I change the way I do that assignment so that it can be more engaging, or that can strengthen the skills that my ELs still need to practice, although they are learning from a computer.
Thank you. All right. That's going to bring us to the end of today. Are there any questions that we can answer for you before we wrap it up? Okay. I can have a really long wait time, but if you guys are good, we'll move it along. All right, in the slide deck that I shared with you all, hopefully you're following along with, there are some PDFs here. This is the Educator's Guide to Flipgrid. So most questions that you would come up with how-tos, like how do you do this or how do you do that, is linked here. So you click on this link and that will take you to the document, okay? And it looks like, there it is, and it's 41 pages. So a lot of information in there. Table of contents, you have all of these that you can click through. And they're hyperlinked, so you don't have to keep scrolling through to a certain page. There are also some how-to videos for Flipgrid on YouTube, and the link is here for that. So if you'd like to see somebody actually talking you through using Flipgrid, here is the link. And then lastly, today's training and other trainings are posted on the ICOE district training video website, and the link for that is here. So if you'd like to go back and watch this video or a different recording of the Flipgrid training or any training, those are available for you as well. So to end us off today, we want to thank you for joining us for day 2 of Flipgrid. We appreciate your participation. And if you could please complete our post-training survey, the link is here. I'm going to copy that and paste that into the chat box for easier access. That way you can just click on it and go. Thank you so much for coming today. I greatly appreciate it.
And we're here to support you as you continue, as I'm sure we'll continue into the fall with distance learning. So please do not hesitate to send us an email if you need any type of support. We are exploring and learning as you are. So, you know, we are by far not the experts, but we will work alongside you and figure out those kinks with you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Yes, Dina, we need about 40 hours of tech. At least I do all the time. So that's why I'm with Jessica today.
All right, ladies, thank you so much.